Good afternoon, guys. It's Working, bringing you a quick update on Bitcoin. Hope you guys are having a wonderful afternoon. Well, last time we spoke, guys, was just a few hours ago. Bitcoin was had just broken out of this wedge here. Well, actually, a couple days ago, it broke out of this wedge, but we were just discussing it. Had broken up, and it was operating somewhere around 9,700 and 9,800. So somewhere in this zone, guys. I told you guys that this thing was looking. One of two things was going to happen. Either we were going to come up here and test this 99.50-ish and get a very strong rejection, and then Bitcoin was going to continue down. Now, how far down we were going to continue was anybody's guess. I was looking for a drop to about at least 9,400 if we got rejected there at that 99.50. Remember, I was not expecting it to come up and hit 10,000 and reject off of 10,000. I was expecting either a shorter rejection, a front run rejection right around 99.50-ish, or us to blast through 10. And the latter happened. We blasted right through 10, guys, went right up to our $10,400 support, resistance. That was our next target up there from 9.5 was 10,004. That was where I was expecting a pause. If we zoom in here to the 4-hour chart, it looks like it came up, paused just shy of that at about $10,260, and then continued up, taking out that $10,400, barely even acknowledging it as of now. Now, could we come back down and this whole thing turn into a wick? Yeah, absolutely, that's possible. But for now, we are trading above that 10.4 and have yet to get strongly rejected yet, which tells me momentum is obviously on the bull's side. Now, let's come in here and check volume. Volume looking at about 22.2 billion. That's up from earlier today. That's up by about 2.2 billion on the day. That's just on the day. It's up about 7 billion if we're looking at yesterday in the last 24 to 48 hours, up about 7 billion. That is significant. I discussed, guys, the next major area of resistance. Let me pull out here to the weekly. Next major area of resistance, if we did take out that 10.4, and really the next major area of resistance between 10,000 is this $11,500 zone. Not only because we can clearly see it here on the weekly chart, guys, that's where we topped out here from January, mid-January, all the way until the first week of March. So a decent area of support, just eyeballing it there, guys, or excuse me, a decent area of resistance. We can see just eyeballing it there, and we can see there's just not much resistance between 10,000 and that 11,500. I know I covered this in the last video, guys, but now that we are breaking up, I want to reiterate that for the people that may not have seen the last video, letting you know that it does look like there's a very good chance, in my opinion, that Bitcoin is going to come up here and test 11,500 if we can get, and let me zoom back in here to the 4-hour very, very quickly. Sorry, I should have done this before. Looking at the 4-hour, if we can get a 4-hour candle both open and close above this $10,400 range. Now again, we are opened above it now. I need to see this close up here, and then I need to see another 4-hour candle both open and close above 10,400. If and when that does happen, I do think we're coming up to 11,500. And let me zoom back out here to the weekly to make my point. 11,500 clearly is the next area of major resistance if we're just eyeballing it, but we don't have to just eyeball it. We also have some confluence. And again, I know I pointed this out in the last video, guys, so please indulge me here for those of you that have already heard it. For those that haven't, if I go swing high, swing low, from our high of 20,000 to our low of 3150, we can see that the next fib level, we can see that we perfectly hit the 382 and consolidated just below there for about 4 or 5 days, actually 6 days. And then we decisively broke above it, decisively took out 10,000, and the next major fib level is sitting there right there at the 0.5, which is a very, very relevant fib, and it just so happens coincidentally, or as I like to say, not so coincidentally, overlapping perfectly right there at that $11,500 range, guys. So I can definitely see Bitcoin coming up. If we get that 4-hour candle both opening and closing above 10,400, I can see Bitcoin coming up and testing at least 11,500, possibly 11,700. And I am expecting, I think probability-wise, if this thing does come up and test that 11.5 to 11.7, and I know we've said this so many times in the past, guys, so I realize that take this with a grain of salt. Bitcoin could reject off this area, and then we could start that 35 to 45% correction. I do think this would make sense to see Bitcoin start correcting here. We've taken out 10,000, which was a major milestone, taking out that 10,000, guys. And at this point, I think a lot of people are going to start to consider taking profits. We've got that very strong resistance right there at that 11.5, very strong fib, which a lot of people are looking at there, guys. So I do think that's a real possibility. Does it have to happen? Absolutely not. Could this thing just continue to go parabolic? Yes, without question. And if it does keep running, I always want to give you guys targets so you know what to do, so you're not reactionary. You guys have a plan, and based on whatever price does, you can execute that plan. So you never want to get the deer in the headlights, guys, with trading. You always want to make sure that you're one step ahead of the game. If something happens, and even if it's improbable, it happens, you have a plan for it, you know how to execute. In this case, if we do take out 11,005, we've got resistance between 11.5 and 11.7 that I think is going to be at least acknowledged, possibly reject price right there and have that larger correction afterwards. But either way, I think it'll be acknowledged. That said, if we do take this out to the upside, guys, next stop, again, there's nothing between 11,700 and about 13,400. So, and coincidentally, again, or not so coincidentally enough, you can see that this was an area of major support back here in December of 2017, going all the way back to 2017. This was an area of major support. You can also see what was support often acts as resistance on the way back up. And again, coincidentally or not so coincidentally, you can see that the 618 and the 65, that golden pocket, lines up perfectly between about 13.4 and about 14,000. So again, this would be the next area that I would look for if we can break, if we take out 11,500 to 11,700, that area of resistance right there. If we take that out, I think it'll be a very quick ride decisively now. But by decisive, I mean a daily candle. We're looking at the higher time frames here. A daily candle, both opening and closing, above 11,700. I think it'll be a very quick rise to about 13,400 to possibly 14,000, somewhere up in this area. All right, throwing on log scale, I know I showed you guys this as well, but again, I want to make sure I bring it up again because I do believe this is extremely relevant. I told you this was the ascending support line, all from basically all the way back in October of 2012. Fast forward, this line acted as support all the way until it broke support on November of 2018 when we dropped below 6,000. And then what was support often acts as resistance, came back up, acted as resistance basically since May the 6th. All the way until right now, where we just now broke above it. Now, I don't consider this a decisive break until we get a weekly candle at least closing above this. If we get a weekly candle closing above this, then yes, this will be a decisive break in my opinion. Not even opening and closing, just a weekly candle closing above this this area of resistance. That'll be a decisive break in my opinion. And then at that point, guys, I do think sky is going to be the limit. I think, of course, next stop is going to be that 11,500 to 11,700, if not coming up all the way to that 13.4 to $14,000 area. But this would be extremely bullish if we can take this out, if we can get this weekly candle closing above this ascending resistance line. All right, checking longs and shorts very quickly. Longs just started going parabolic once again when price broke up. That's actually a very interesting sign. It's a sign that you don't want to call them guppies in the market, because typically in the past what you'd have when price would go up, back in 2018, when price would go up, you would basically have shorts dropping off the board and longs stacking. Now we have price going up and and shorts literally started stacking here. So yeah, traders are getting a little bit smarter in the fact that you can see that their rationale, their chess game is getting a little bit better. But obviously they've been doing this for a while and it just has not corrected. So people are expecting this to correct. And I believe market makers keep driving price up to try to liquidate these shorts, which they've been unsuccessful at as of yet. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out. If we look at longs were starting to stack as well. We just had a pretty major drop off here. Well, major is a pretty relative term, but we had a noticeable drop off here of about, longs just dropped about 8% or so. So, a noticeable drop off in longs. Still, longs are fairly stacked, but we've got shorts outpacing longs now without question. Would suggest possibly a little bit more upside, as we've been talking about. Let's go ahead and check our moving averages, exponential moving averages. This is on the 4-hour chart. 4 hours looking at it, not much I can see on the 4-hour chart there, guys. 4 hours is obviously bullish. Let's go to the daily here. Daily, we are well above, extending the Bollinger Bands here, which is a good sign of strength here, guys. Stretching them out, trading above the Bollinger Bands, the upper Bollinger Band, well above the 8-day, not well above, but sitting right above the 8-day EMA, well above the 21-day EMA here. Again, all bullish. We're seeing the distance increase between the 821 and 55-day EMA there, guys. So again, all bullish. Let's go ahead and check the weekly. Weekly, we are pushing the Bollinger Bands to the upside there. Again, guys, bullish sign of strength. Well above the 8-week EMA, well above the 21-week EMA, getting some distance between the 55 and the 21-week EMA, guys. Again, nothing but bullish here. All right, so what am I watching for here, guys? If you're not already in a trade, I wouldn't chase price at this point, guys. One of the worst things you can do is start chasing price. What I would do is I would wait for a good entry point. What would be a good entry point? We still have yet to have a decisive break above that 10,400 because we still have yet to have a 4-hour candle both open and close above 10,400. However, if we do come back down and test this 10,400 and we get a nice little bounce off that zone, I may play that bounce. That would be, in my opinion, that would be a very, very decent risk to reward if we do come back down and if price gets bought up back here. Now, will I try to bounce? Will I try to play it off the first bounce? Probably not. Which means that I may miss out. I may hit this bounce. I don't play the first one and it just takes off. That's a possibility. I'm betting more likely we're going to come back down, bounce around 10,400, somewhere thereabouts, maybe wicking below it, come back up, come back around for a second test. Second test, I'm assuming it's going to bounce a little bit higher. So if we bounce, let's say at 10, then we wick down to about 10,370, but the body stays above 10.4. On the next drive around, I'm going to look for a bounce somewhere around 10,450, 10,420. At that point, that's when I'm going to want to get back in, and my target's going to be about 11,500. That's what I'm going to be looking for. If we do, on the other hand, come back down and break below 10.4, I'm not going to get too concerned. I'm not going to play anything, but I'm not going to get too concerned until we break down below 9,950. If we do break below 9,950, guys, I do think that it'll be a very quick drop down to at least 9,400, but I'd be skeptical as to whether 9,400 would hold at that point. I'd be skeptical. I'd be wondering if we are in that larger correction, because at that point we'd be dropping, let's see, from our current price point. Yeah, at that point we'd be dropping about 14%-ish, somewhere thereabouts, guys. And I do think it would likely continue back down. We'd have to wait and see, but so many things can happen between now and then. We have to wait and see how price action reacts at 10.4, how it reacts at 9,950, and how it reacts here at 9,400, which was our area of resistance for so long here. That's really the critical zone. If 9,400 does break decisively, in other words, if we get a 4-hour candle both opening and closing below 9,400, it'll be a very quick drop down to 8,500. 8,500 would be a must-buy, in my opinion. All right, looking at the weekly, checking our indicators, RSI. Weekly RSI just looks bullish. Weekly RSI looks bullish, man. This is a beautiful bullish looking pattern. This is a beautiful rounding bottom here and then just taking off, going parabolic, came up here, hit overbought territory, as we have so many times here in the past during this bull run of 2017, guys, where you get this beautiful bullish chop where price comes up, hits to overbought territory, comes back down, immediately gets bought back up. That's the kind of thing you want to see. We're seeing a similar thing here, coming up, dipping its toes into deep overbought territory for the first time since 2017, coming back down, immediately getting bought right back up. And if we can take this thing out to the upside, which would be about anything above 79.4 on the weekly RSI, guys, again, I would expect us to continue up here, and that'll probably be your signal that we're going up to at least 11,500. But weekly RSI looks extremely bullish. Let's go ahead and check the MACD. Let's see, MACD does show a little bit of bearish divergence here, guys, but that is not yet confirmed. Not yet confirmed, just showing a little bit of leg. We'll have to wait and see. Right now, it looks extremely bullish. We're looking at the signal line and the MACD line completely erect there, guys. Both of them showing no signs of turning back around, guys. So, yeah, nothing but bullish on our indicators as of right yet. All right, guys, that about does it for me. I'm going to go to bed. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, please let me know in the comment section below, and I will get back to you in the morning. I do appreciate you guys taking the time here, guys. Please trade safe. Take care of yourselves. This is Working. Signing out.